David Duke, top of the arc. Here's Pip, guarded by Gillespie. Steps back, spins, fires! Woo! Pip Gates!
They get another crack. They'll go to their senior. And he lays it in. Two big buckets by Alpha Diallo.
He crushed it. It's a grand slam.
Down by 3. 5 seconds. Reeves for the tie. He got it.
Today on the show, we have a very special guest, Jerry Weinstein. Jerry has been a coach in the minor leagues for several years. He's been a catching coordinator with the Colorado Rockies. He's worked in player development with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's an extremely helpful social media personality and just an overall great guy, great coach. So we got an interview with him right now. I know you're going to enjoy it. So let's get right into it. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Dish Sports. I'm Ben Bellotti, and I'm here with a very special guest today, Jerry Weinstein. Jerry is a coach in the minor leagues right now. He's been with the Colorado Rockies as catching coordinator, as well as an extensive college coaching resume where he's spent over 20 years at Sacramento Community College, and he's in multiple college Hall of Fames. He's coached in the World Baseball Classic, the Olympics, and just a super impressive resume and regarded as one of the best catching minds and coaching minds in all of baseball. So, Jerry, thanks so much for doing this. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Ben?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. So, first of all, when I was reading your bio, I knew a little bit about you before I attended CatcherCon, the first ever one. You were one of the big panel speakers, so I knew a little bit about you there and obviously follow you on social media and everything. But when I was reading your bio, the things that jumped out at me first, aside from, the extensive college coaching career that's super impressive, a super impressive record, was the World Baseball Classic and Olympics. That just popped right into my head. I want to know, what was that, both those experiences like? And if you could pick, which atmosphere do you prefer?
Well, they were both. Yeah, I can't pick one over the other. I've done. I did the 92 Olympics in Barcelona, and then 96 in Atlanta, which was really good, obviously, because it's in the United States. And then the WBC was fantastic. It's really like a World Series, and every game is like the seventh game. So that was a really good experience as well.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I'm haven't quite watched Olympic baseball. I'm not quite old enough to have remembered any of that, but I'm glad it's coming back. But the World Baseball Classic can't miss. With the atmosphere, all the games, no matter which team you watch. So, both of those, just a huge honor to be a part of that, I'm sure.
The level of competition in terms of buy-in is unbelievable. Players are really invested, and it's that nationalism thing, and I think it's really, really good when everybody is 100% in and competing their rear end off at all times, and a very selfless environment.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have a friend from high school, and we've interviewed him on this program, Mason Fioli. He played for Team USA baseball, which not quite the same level, but from his experience with the investment and, investing in your country and playing for your country, his was way over the top. So I can only imagine what it's like in those atmospheres. And that's just gotta be something really cool. So then just moving on, you have sent over 28 players into the MLB with over 200 drafted from, colleges you coached at. Are you recruiting these guys? Are you looking for something special? Because obviously you have sent a ton of guys into the major leagues, to pro baseball. Just what are you looking for when you're, looking to get guys when you're coaching, when you were coaching in college? What are you looking for in a player?
Well, obviously you're looking for a certain kind of player relative to ability, but more than that, we're looking for people that have a passion for the game, that are willing to work and enjoy the preparation aspect of the game. And a lot of it, like those stats were from Sacramento City College, and we had large numbers of players in our program. So it was a kind of a Branch Rickey thing. Out of quantity comes quality. And we never cut anybody, and guys develop at different different stages. I always say not all the fruit gets ripe at the same time. So we did have volume. We were in a really good community relative to the importance of baseball, and there were plenty of good programs, feeder programs, and I think it's just basically what everybody else looks for. Certain physical traits, and then certainly certain mental and type and psychological type of traits that lead to improvements, and no telling where those improvements will take you in, as far as end game is concerned.
Yeah. I mean, players must love playing for you. I mean, you've coached everywhere. But I gotta ask. So I'm assuming you were a catcher growing up, right?
I was.
Did you play any other positions or just catcher?
I never played any other position from day one in Little League. When they started Little League in our community, I was 8 years old. They had 8-year-olds in Little League at that time, I believe. And the coach, hey, I don't know if this was good or bad. Yeah, you got a catcher's body. He says, have you ever caught before? Heck, I'd never played baseball really before much. And so I started out as a catcher, and I've been a catcher ever since.
Yeah, pretty much same thing happened to me. I mean, I started as Little League. I was an infielder, but as soon as, middle school and later came around, they're like, oh, you got a catcher's body, broad shoulders, perfect. You're nothing else but catcher. And I mean, I absolutely loved it, so I don't regret it at all. But I asked because, I know I followed Tanner Swanson as well, and I know he didn't grow up as a catcher, but he is now catching coordinator and doing lots of coaching, the main head catching coach with the Yankees right now. But he wasn't a catcher, and a lot of catchers become managers. So, I mean, it was kind of just a roundabout way of getting, since you were a catcher, do you kind of feel like the next step instantly, naturally, was just to go into coaching, or were you pursued by someone else to start coaching?
Well, my lack of ability led me toward coaching, and I've always I kind of had a teaching mentorship type mentality, and so and I had a passion for the game. But I coached football as well in high school and in college some, and I've always enjoyed that aspect of being an enabler and helping people achieve their goals and dreams and so on. Since I couldn't do it myself as a player, but certainly the catching position it should be and is pretty much a cerebral position, and it's one of leadership. And I think that's what most coaches have in their wheelhouse, that they are leaders and they are pretty cerebral.
Yeah, definitely. You're kind of like the field general when you're the catcher, and I always thought of it always as like you're almost like the pitcher. Obviously, they have the pitching coach and everything, but you're almost like the pitcher's personal coach right in the moment during the game. That's kind of how I thought of it.
Well, I think that's correct thinking. I think that's absolutely true, because on a given day, the pitcher's success or failure is basically in your hands.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason catchers pride themselves on, when the pitcher, they don't get as much recognition, obviously, but with, pitcher throws no hitter, perfect game, everyone's excited for the pitcher, but catcher, that holds a special heart in their feeling too, because they're a huge part of that, and they, led the pitcher to that, if all goes well.
Well, we always tell our catchers, when a pitcher wins, you get a half a win, and when he loses, you get half a loss. Now, the pitchers are more than willing to give you the half a loss. They're not
Right.
begrudgingly give you a half a win, but that's okay as well.
Right. So like I said earlier, you've had many coaching positions, both catching coordinator and manager. Have you preferred, being like the overall like manager or coach, or do you like really honing in on the catching aspect and coaching catchers individually?
Well, my preference is always to manage, and really in my early days, especially at the college level, whether it be high school or at LA Valley College or Sacramento City College, and prefer to manage, because that you're responsible for everything, and success or failure is totally on your shoulders, and it's reflected by the scoreboard generally, and that's a good measuring stick for me. That's like that's the final exam. Every game is a final exam, or the season might be a final exam, and every game is a test.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, obviously you hold a large part of your heart is with the catchers too, being grown up.
Oh, no doubt. I always say on any given day, 3 guys are going to determine whether you win or lose: the pitcher, the catcher, and the umpire. And the catcher impacts both the pitcher and the umpire, and so he's a key element in success on a given day.
Oh yeah. Going off of that, so there's a lot of talk with the major leagues going to automated strike zone. Me personally, I'm not in favor of it, but as a catcher yourself, a former catching coach, manager, do you want automated? I mean, from what you just said, I would guess no, but
You guessed correctly. I'm not in favor of eroding another skill element from our game.
that's right.
And I think that robo umpires are going to be problematic relative to how they gauge what a strike is, because the reality is once the ball hits any part of the strike zone, it's a strike. So they're going to have to redefine how much of the strike zone the ball is in before it is called a strike. Because you could have a down breaking ball hit the hollow of the knee on the front edge of the plate if the hitter's up in the front of the plate, and by the time it gets into his contact zone, it could be near the ground.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And then on more of a selfish player note, as a former catcher, it just takes away too much skill for the catcher position. Like, as someone who didn't have the best throwing arm and had to really work on the little things like quick feet, and then obviously, in my mind, I always put receiving and blocking in front of throwing. The whole receiving thing, catchers won't even have to frame pitches anymore, which is one of my favorite parts of the game, or presenting pitches, however you want to phrase it. Just one of my favorite part of the game, and one of the craft that, I can watch a MLB game and I see things that other people don't notice, be like the catcher turning their glove up or moving to the ball first. And that I feel like that with the automated strike zone just gets taken away completely.
I think to a certain element that's going to be a truth, but I think that still catching the ball cleanly will impact how the pitcher feels about the pitch that he's throwing. So I don't think you lose 100% of it, but you'll lose a good portion of the subtle skill element that's involved in receiving.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you feel about, what are your preferences on the one knee stance with catchers?
Well, I'm in favor of the stance that gives them the best chance to have success on the element of the game that is the highest priority at the time. So, I'm okay with one knee stance. I'm okay with multiple stances. And I mean, ideally you'd like to have one stance. And it's always been a traditional 2-point stance, and learn how to, which is probably for a lot of people in their mind is the best blocking and receiving and blocking and throwing stance, and then learn how to receive out of that stance. And the new philosophy is, hey, let's get into the best receiving stance and learn how to block and throw out of that stance. And then the third school is, hey, if blocking is a priority, get in your best blocking stance. Runner on third base, 2 outs, 2 strikes, you're going to bury a breaking ball, get in your best blocking stance. Now, that may be a one-knee stance. And if throwing is a priority, get into the stance that gives you the best chance to throw. And if receiving is a priority, get in that stance. The reason receiving on one knee has come into vogue is because the run save data shows us how much runs saved by receiving is more important than runs saved by blocking or throwing, because there are somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 pitches during a season that are received that mean something, and probably blocking as little as 40 or 50 and throwing probably less than that. But the run save for the best receivers over the average receivers is about 27 runs.
Yeah.
And that for blocking is about 1 run, and throwing is somewhere around 3 runs. So you can see how much more important the receiving piece is.
Definitely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But you have to think. I'm sure you've been watching playoff baseball recently, and you've seen Mike Zunino and Austin Nola. I love the broadcast that was going on, because they were giving all the love to those guys blocking the balls and saving runners from moving up in scoring position. So I mean, even though the defensive metrics show it's not as many runs saved, and that probably is true. I mean, you have to respect and look at it and be like, oh, that could have saved a run right there, saved a guy from getting into a scoring position. I still, blocking's still up there, and I'm sure you recognize that as well.
No doubt. I really like Nola a lot. I thought Higashioka did a tremendous job for the Yankees as well.
He did. Yeah, definitely. So going back into coaching, I know you've coached in the Cape Cod League, and I'm bringing this up because, as a show here, a program, we've had a lot of guys play either in the Cape or the NECBL. And for them, they always say, obviously it's so important to do for, draft purposes or just growth purposes in general. But it's also just, some of the most fun baseball that they've ever played. The atmosphere is like not completely different, but has, summer ball has a different feel than college or any other season you're playing at. So for players, it kind of seems like for them, it's like, oh, this is a loose season while we're here and taking it seriously, but we're going to have a lot of fun. For you as a coach, do you get that same, sense that the atmosphere is very loose in summer ball, or for you is it strictly business is all the same?
Well, the way we run our program in Wareham is not like that. Our program, this is serious baseball. Our job is to help you get ready for professional baseball and to make you a better player at the end of the day. It's not about deep sea fishing and tanning on the beach. I had an interesting. I had the first year I did it was 2016, and I had Joey Bart on our team, and he had just finished his freshman year at Georgia Tech, and our early work, our catchers are out there an hour and a half to 2 hours before anybody else gets to the ballpark, and the first day, bad body language, like, holy cow, I can't believe I'm going to be doing this for the whole summer. And his idea, and he's a great guy, don't get me wrong, and he's a big sport fisherman, and he thought he'd be doing a lot of fishing and play a little baseball and have some fun. But my idea was we're going to help you become a better player, and the fun, that's type 2 fun. The real fun, is the result of improving as a player and all the things that go along with it. And so the second day, are we going to be here this early every day? Do we have to do this? Wait a minute. And so I said, Joey, maybe this isn't the right place for you, and I'm going to give your coach a call, and we'll have a little discussion. So I called Danny Hall. I said, Danny, this guy's not going to make it here during the summer. Our work schedule and our timeline is way too demanding for him. And so I think it's probably best you find another place for him. He said, oh, no, wait a minute. And Danny and I are friends, and we go back a long way. And he says, wait a minute, let me talk to him. And so Danny made a call, and the third day, this guy showed up, and he was a different guy. Danny obviously had a deep conversation with him relative to the importance of this process for his career. And by the end of the summer, he was our hardest worker. He initiated, hey, can we come out earlier? Can I do this? Can I do that? And he improved tremendously. Now, obviously, they do a really good job at Georgia Tech, and this was just a piece in his development. But I think it was important that a guy named Mike Nicky has coached the catchers there, ex-professional big league catcher, and he did a great job with him as well. But this was also a piece in his development relative to establishing a work ethic and understanding that there's a difference between fun and type 2 fun. And the type 2 fun is the kind of the blood, sweat, and tear work that you have to do in order to have the real fun, which is performing well and getting rewarded for it.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. I didn't even make the connection that you would have coached Joey Bart. That's pretty sick, considering he's one of the top guys, upcoming guys in the major leagues right now. So speaking of that, who is there any catcher that is either about to break into MLB or that is just broken? A guy like Sean Murphy, maybe someone. Is there someone that you're looking forward to watching a lot?
Well, I've enjoyed watching Sean Murphy. I've also enjoyed watching a kid from Louisville that's with the Dodgers, Will Smith. As a matter of fact, that year I was evaluating catchers for the Rockies. I'd go around and see the top guys, and there was a plethora of guys, Zach Collins and Matt Thaiss Will Smith and Sean Murphy. I went to Wright State and saw him for 3 games and had a chance to go down the field, spend a little time with him. And then I probably saw Will Smith play his best game of his life in the ACC tournament in Durham, and very impressed. And he's really made tremendous progress. But yeah, the usual suspects, those young guys that are coming, and that's something to be able to establish yourself at the age that they are established themselves as primetime catchers in playoff baseball.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously you hear everyone say it. If you watch the game, religiously, you'd see the game is getting younger, but it is crazy that, Will Smith is starting over, a such sound defensive catcher. I think Austin Barnes is the other guy, I think.
He is.
It's really impressive that guys like him and Murphy can go and just start over guys that have been there forever. It says a lot to who they've been coached by and their philosophies and everything.
Right. I think that out of necessity, especially with the coronavirus situation, and that wasn't the case with Murphy and Will Smith, because they established themselves in their organizations, and right. It was obvious that they were going to be able to play. But a lot of young guys are getting earlier opportunities in the traditional. You play in a rookie league, then you go to a short season A league, and then an A league and AA and AAA. That maybe that progression is not necessary. Maybe guys can move a lot faster, and the way they play in your system, and you can challenge them, and it won't hurt them, and they can benefit by being challenged and can move a lot faster than you think, and they need less and less time in the minor leagues. And I think that's a testament to how good a job amateur and coaches are doing, both at the college level and the travel team level and the individual instructional level. I think we're seeing more catching clinics and catching specialists out there that are, and the information on the internet is great. And the young players are developing better and faster because there's good information out there and good coaching earlier, so they can move faster.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned, so many resources out there on the internet and social media. So you are one of those figures. You tweet out little tips or, instructions from your own videos or books that you have. So I know I was following you last night. You're tweeting out the Astros Rays game, but what I like what you do is you're not just focusing on the catching. You're tweeting about, the double plays that returned or the runs that, Kevin Kiermaier might have saved by cutting off a ball. So you think that stuff's very important to do and put out there, and I completely agree.
Well, when I it's funny, I was a non-social media guy, and when I first wrote my book, I had a friend, Alan Jaeger, who's a long toss guy, and he's got a social media presence, and we were talking. He says, do you have a website? I said, no. He says, do you tweet? I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. He says, oh, you're a dinosaur. He says, I'm going to help you here. And he helped me form a website, and he showed me how to get on Twitter and what to do. And early on, I was just kind of taking little snippets out of the book and putting things out there. And I got a very positive response. And then people would start to ask questions on other areas of the game. And I started putting things out just in general on all aspects of the game, and got a lot more response. And I guess I have close to 50,000 followers right now. And I get, no one dropped me in the position I am right now. There were a lot of people along the way that helped me. And I feel like, at this time, it's really important for me to help the game by giving my, these aren't sermons from the mount. They're just opinions, and it doesn't mean they're right or they're wrong. They're just observations. And if it can benefit someone and help a coach be a better coach and help his players be better players, that's where I'm at right now in my career.
Yeah, it's great. It's so awesome. I mean, and you really have turned into a pro on it. I mean, you get those abbreviations in there. You fit as many characters into the 250 limit there is. And I think everyone who follows you appreciates that.
Well, I enjoy it too, and I don't enjoy it necessarily because I'm getting feedback. I just feel like, it's part of my routine every day, every morning. I'll put something out there, or a couple things, and especially during the time when games are going on, like these last 3 months, and then of course the playoffs now, and things come up, and people are really dialed into baseball right now. That I see things and put them out there, and I've gotten, obviously, some positives and as far as feedback is concerned.
Yeah. Well, just from firsthand source here, greatly appreciated. We'll start to just, a couple questions just to wrap up. I want to get kind of like your take on the way baseball is trending right now. So I know you mentioned, certain things because of the pandemic, like guys getting a chance earlier are happening, but there's other things like, the extended playoffs or, the extra inning rule that happened with the guy starting on second base. In terms of 16 teams making the playoffs and stuff like that, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I'm not opposed to that. I think the more teams and the more viable teams can be in their communities, the more interest in baseball, and more people are going to go to games. They're going to make more money for the owners. The owners are going to pay players better. I think overall it's a good thing. I would like to see a way that we have playoffs where the teams are rewarded for winning over the course of 60 games, or especially over 162 games. Everybody shouldn't be equal at the end.
Right.
I think we have to figure that one out. I like the extra inning rule, the international rule, and I've been involved in that in international baseball. I think that's great. I think it brings in more strategy. There's more decisions that have to be made. There's more options relative to intentional walk or bunt or take 3 whacks at driving the guy in. And I like that where there has to be, it's not just automatic what you're going to do, where you have to make a decision somewhere, especially based on personnel. So in that respect, I do like that. I like the expanded rosters. I think that's good for the game, but it's also good for the players in general.
Definitely.
I like the fact that during the playoffs here, there's not days off. So now when we start playing the 7-game series, it's the depth of that team, especially that pitching staff, is going to be tested. That taxi squad concept, I think, is a good one. I like that. But overall, I think I like the DH. And even though I've been a National League manager, pretty much, but as a minor league manager, you're always dealing with the DH. But I like the DH in both leagues. I like more offense in the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was actually, at first I was surprised to hear that you did like the runner on second extra inning rule, but then it did hit me that you've had experience with that rule. And honestly, I don't mind it either. I think it is exciting, and it does, when you really think about it, there is a lot more strategy that, you can manage into the game or players can think about. So just real quick, last question. Is there anything you want to see Major League Baseball or just the game in general do to attract a younger audience, or just keep on going, keep it going strong?
No, I think I like what we're doing right now. I think that if we could have less time in between innings for advertising, if they can do some in-screen advertising like a lot of the sports are doing, that there's less time in between. But baseball is it's not for everybody, and we can't structure our game and tweak it so that everybody's going to like it. That's just not realistic. And the people that like baseball really like baseball the way it is. I think the advanced analytics are good for a lot of people. And then some people just don't care for it, but they don't pay attention to it. And I think that the instant one thing I'm disappointed that it seems like there's fewer and fewer instant replays in the broadcast this year. Now maybe that's because of the logistics based on the amount of cameras and technicians that are available, but I'm kind of missing that a little bit. But I think we're in a good place. I think for me, I think our commissioner's done an unbelievable job to pull this off this year, and some of the things he's trying, and especially on the minor league level, there's some new things that are, if we start to play again eventually, that they will test and maybe they'll make their way into Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it's a great answer. I really couldn't agree more on that one. I don't think the game needs to change that much because, the people that love it, and it's really not a dying game at all when you look at it. So I think it's a great place to end. I want to thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much.
You bet, Ben. Good talking with you.
You too.